Welcome to the Culture Podcast, where we uncover the hidden mechanics of high control groups, their tactics, and their impact. And we speak with the survivors who broke free. My name is Derek, and I'm your host.
My name is Trinity, and I'm also your host. On this podcast, we explore cult life as real people who have lived through the life-changing process of leaving a high control group.
Well, here we are, another podcast. Trent and I wanted to get together and just kind of have a conversation. As we've gone through a few episodes now, we've chatted with Gork, we've chatted with Jeremy. I had a solo conversation with him, and we did just have that conversation with Natty. That was heavy, but we're so thankful and really grateful to have her on and share her story.
That was heavy.
Yeah, as we've said many times, like, we want to have true, authentic, vulnerable conversations, and I really think that she got the memo. It was
Me too. I don't want to compare, but I think her story is very, very important and meaningful.
We're very always welcome to have her back anytime that she wants to add more to the conversation. Even if she is just a guest on here, maybe talking about some different topics. I think
I think so too.
her viewpoint is very valuable on how she was raised.
Oh yeah.
But we wanted to talk a little bit about JW jargon, or cult speak, and as we've gone through a couple episodes, we've kind of heard these terms. We've talked about them a few times where we can, but they kind of come rapid fire, and so sometimes it's hard in the conversation to take a moment to breathe and kind of slow down the conversation and kind of go,
Speaking of slowing down, I want to. No, I'm just kidding.
oh my gosh. Yeah, we hear things kind of come rapid fire, and so we
Yeah.
want to help listeners understand the internal vocabulary of Jehovah's Witness, why it matters, kind of how it kind of shapes the world that we saw growing up. And there's this whole cult speak language. There's a whole language.
There is.
And so if you don't know that language, sometimes you're probably confused as hell, and you're just kind of, okay, I need to maybe, and no one wants to do research. So, so, we're here hopefully today to have a quick episode and just kind of throw out some of this research, and maybe down the road we can always refer people back to this episode. Go to the JW jargon episode, and you can get an idea of what the hell we're talking about.
Yeah, and I want to say too, I kind of want to apologize a little bit because I realized when I listened to me and you and Gork talk, I mean, there's probably a whole subworld of like insider lingo there just because we've known each other for so long. So that episode maybe felt a little confusing for the outsiders who haven't known us forever, but I hope that we'll avoid that in the future too. You know, the Gork episode was really special to us.
Yeah, and I've already talked with Gork. He's going to come back on when he has a moment, and we'll dive
Rad.
a little more into some of the stuff that we talked about briefly. We really want to chat more about his story and kind of how he kind of woke up, and the situation with his the relationship that kind of led to his eyes being open to some things and asking questions.
Yes.
And he's down to talk about that. We'll touch briefly on the famous Gill and that, a little bit of that story.
Infamous.
Yeah, and then I think there's some other stuff in Andrew's interview. So, you know, he's welcome to come back as well and and continue to be a part of the conversation. So that'll happen. But yeah, once again, today is breaking down some of the weirdest, most loaded, unforgettable JW terms, things from like Theocratic ministry school to worldly people. And just want to start off with some of these phrases. And Trent, you can kind of maybe just kind of give your thoughts on some of these things, what they mean. We can kind of go back and forth. So one of the first, some of the first couple is theocratic, ministerial servant, theocratic ministry school. What are some of those things when we say those?
Okay, so I am a systems thinker. I tend to organize systems. And so for me, it all actually starts with theocratic because the literal definition having to do with theocracy, a form of government based on a specific religion or deity. And I think that leads the way for the organization of the witness systems, both like in a positive way for the people who enjoy it, but then also in a negative way for people who are harmed by it. And I don't think it's up to any of us to determine who who other than us are those things. So I think that the way they did it is common sense. I think that they were organizing their own systems when they made these names. And so I think like in that way they're harmless. But then just the nature of the code of word, these can become harmful. And so for instance, ministerial servant, someone who is serving in the ministry. Well, kind of. I mean, they're really subordinate to the elders and supporting the elders. But when you read the actual words, you start to see like maybe these words, maybe this is different than what the common sense would say. Because when I think ministerial servant, I think, oh, I'm serving in the ministry. Why doesn't it mean that? You know?
Yeah.
Do you know why it's not named that?
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
some of these terms we just grow up on them. It just is what it is. So, yeah, ministerial servant is basically someone that's just under an elder who's kind of the top of the congregation hierarchy. So it's elder, then ministerial servant, and then you kind of get down to the rank and file
Pioneers are after that though.
pioneers, and then you have publishers. And so it's just a system. Uh,
Oh, and then within publishers, you have baptized and unbaptized publishers. And if you're an unbaptized publisher, you're basically worldly than having a Bible study.
yeah. And then, what are your thoughts about the faithful and discreet slave or governing body?
So again, I think that it's their practical words, like governing body is the C-level executives. And there's like 9 or 12 or something of them at all times. It's a board. They function tightly as a board. Like they're worthy of study because of how well they operate as a board and how efficiently they spread information. The faithful and discreet slave shit, I could really go on and on about for a long time, dude. So I'm just gonna save you. But like the faithful and discreet slave thing being taken from a scripture and then being they pair that often with the light getting ever brighter. Those really bother me. Those really fucking bother me just because principally it's how can you be a faithful and discreet servant if you're not changing with the times, you know, like for instance the beard thing. I think you and I were both about 5 or 7 years early on the beard thing,
Mhm.
maybe 10,
Yeah.
maybe 10. But it's like when we're talking to the brothers about stuff like this or the elders, I am thinking maybe the light is getting brighter now, you know. But
Yeah,
anyway,
the light is getting brighter is definitely one of the sayings that we heard a lot growing up. That is based on a scripture that is misused and given it's for them allow them to change doctrine. So you might hear that in a
yes,
conversation where, something comes up and they said, "Oh, the light got brighter." It is the easy go-to move where
yep,
the faithful and discreet slave, which again is in parallel or in connection with the governing body. They're the ones that run the Jehovah's Witness organization. Faithful and discreet slave is also based on scripture, and yeah. So again, you're going to hear some of this stuff, and we just felt it appropriate to talk about it a little bit.
yeah. And if I could, so I have a mentorship program that I'm not advertising. It's just a fact. Okay, I'm not sharing it with anybody, but I have basically done an example in what's called recursive thinking, which is like thinking in circles, basically being able to talk in circles, which I've always been able to do. But so this is where it gets kind of fucky, even just mentally with us. So we're talking theocratic, okay, God's organization. We have the congregation, and then like a presiding overseer or main organizer, a circuit overseer. We have the elders, we have the ministerial servants, we have the pioneers. Those people all comprise the congregation. But then you have the governing body. That's like the big head C level of the organization. Then you have the faithful and discreet slave. And I'm unclear. Is that the 144,000 that are partaking?
Well, they've gone back and forth so many
That's
times.
what I don't know. Yeah.
Right now, from my understanding, the governing body and the faithful and discreet slave are the same exact thing.
Okay. So that's where I'm getting at. So then we have the C level executives, but those are also comprised of people from congregations. It's all recursive and all goes in a circle, and just from this little discussion we've had, we see that there's multiple layers of circles of organization that kind of all come back and mean the same thing. It's supposed to be the Christian congregation.
Well, I think the funny thing about the faithful and discreet slave, I think at one time the faithful and discreet slave was also women.
Yes, it was members of the 144,000, and it could be men or women, and then these women were supposed to, like, wear a headscarf when they rode into Bethel, and I've known women like this who have worn headscarves when they write to Bethel about, like, dogma.
And Bethel again is where the worldwide organization is held.
Oh, yeah.
So it's where all the printing work does, all the JW propaganda is, and so when Trent's saying Bethel, we know what that means, and people who are ex
I
Jehovah's
just did it
Witnesses,
again. You just did it again. That's how easy it
it's
is.
so easy to do JW cult speak jargon, really easy. But what I was going to say about the faithful and discreet slave is the interesting thing was all of the literature showed these faithful and discreet slave in heaven as kind of angelic men. And there was all this thing, but like, well, but I thought some of these faithful and discreet slave were women because they were a part of this special class and group of people. So you're saying that when they die and start ruling up in heaven, they turn into like a man angel? Uh,
Or like the angels are genderless and they just show them as men because that's how God. I don't know. And then, like, that brings in the whole heavenly thing, like, think about this, the faithful and discreet slave in the '90s, they go to heaven because 'cause they're 144,000. But then let's say today it's the governing body. Are the governing body anointed? Are they part of the 144,000, or are they the sea level guys?
Oh, 144,000 is another topic.
Yeah.
And yes, all the governing body at this point in time, from my understanding, is all the faithful and discreet slave. They're one and the same, and they have to be anointed.
Mm.
And anointed is another one of those terms.
Yeah.
It goes so deep.
It goes so deep. This is why we don't talk about it, dude.
This is why
I'm glad we're getting this out of the way, though, because
this is why we don't talk about Fight Club. Um,
exactly.
yeah, anointed is another one. So Jehovah's Witness understanding of the scripture, just to break it down in a very broad sense, is that there would be a small class of people. This is from the book of Revelation, that there would be 144,000. And I think my understanding is it ended up being more of a symbolic number. Maybe at the beginning it was a literal
It
144,000.
depends on what generation you're in, Derek.
Let's not even start talking about the generation teaching or prophecy. But that special group of people would be up in heaven when they pass. And that group of people would be leading most of they call them the domestics.
Right.
These are
The sheep.
basically the sheep of the domestics are the majority of Jehovah's Witnesses worldwide. And those people, after Armageddon, which I hope I don't have to explain, that's pretty common for a lot of Christian-based religions.
Right.
But after Armageddon, the world would be a refreshed, cleansed paradise type world. And
And if you're a sheep, you're actively tending the earth. It's beautiful.
yeah, you're on a paradise type like earth.
Yeah.
And so you are resurrected and it's always funny when you start to talk about it too, because it sounds so culty.
Yeah.
But you would be resurrected and you would just be, I guess, in like your 20s, like your best form.
Your
Your
prime. I figured
yeah, your
33,
prime form.
right?
Um, and then you would be on Earth,
Forever. Oh, for 1,000 years.
and then these this the
For only for 1,000 years where you're building your resume for everybody and making sure that you
oh my
can
gosh.
live that way
So
on purpose. On purpose by God.
and and then for some odd reason, Satan is let back out to tempt you once again. I'm already apologizing to everyone listening because it's a lot and we're bouncing around. I do apologize.
And me too, and my intent is sincerely not to mock anybody. I just it when you're looking at it like I'm able to compartmentalize. I'm thinking about I'm a business manager right now. If I was a business manager talking about all this stuff, I would be a little confused and a little worried about how it's organized. And so I don't know. It's kind of funny how jam-packed of information a couple words can be in this organization.
Yeah, as you start to explain things, different terms kind of coincide with one another, and it's really easy for us to just say them off the cuff. And I just know people are like, you guys are all over the place. And I know that as you grow into something like this as a child, you slowly just start learning these terms. If you're coming in out of the world, which is another term, you're worldly, you're not one of Jehovah's Witnesses, and you're brought into the fold. You just slowly learn this stuff, and now in this podcast you're learning it at a rapid fire pace. But again, we just felt like let's have a quick little check-in, Trent and I,
Yeah.
and then without a guest on, and just kind of talk about this stuff. So as we move on to some other stuff, there's kind of some control language, some insider outsider type information. We did already say the one, worldly people, but then we have some of the other stuff: bad association, spiritually.
Spoils useful habits.
That's found. That's found.
My dad made me memorize that.
Yes, spiritually weak,
Oh,
apostate, independent thinking, as if that's some sort of bad thing. But what do you think of when you heard the term bad associations, spiritually weak, and the big A, the apostate?
oh God. I genuinely have trauma associated with all of those words. Like genuinely, you know?
Yeah.
And you do too, I bet. But like bad association can be anybody, but it's also a judgment without even
Hmm.
saying it. You know, if you label someone as bad association or say maybe you should avoid some people who do these things because so and so does it, it automatically is a them.
Yeah, it continues to create that separation, that control, the us versus them. When you are growing up as a child, you're constantly told like, oh well, Timmy in school, he might seem like a good boy,
Right.
but the reality is he's worldly and he's not a Jehovah's Witness.
And worldly people are bad
And yeah, if
association.
you're not a witness, they're bad
Yeah.
association. And so you're not allowed to hang out with him after school or whatever. And you're just constantly fed that information that basically everyone is bad association. The only people that are good association are within the organization, which is another culty term, the organization.
Well, if I could interject, I have a thought because you just said something I want to expound on. You said you're not allowed, and that is wrong. The way they actually say it is you're allowed to do anything you want because God has given you the gift of free will. Ever since Adam and Eve ate of the tree, we became imperfect and Satan, had his influence on us. And so now we all have free will. And the purpose of that free will is to reason and use our centers to serve God. And so then if you make the choice to hang out with bad association, you're free to do whatever you want, but you're building your reputation with Jehovah and with the congregation, and we wouldn't want to have too independent of thoughts. We're God's sheep. And so if you show that you're, not in line with the rest of God's sheep, you might become bad association yourself.
Yeah.
And that is another example of recursive thinking. How we have, worldly people, bad association, spiritually weak, and no one's getting judged. The only judgments that are being made are at the personal level, but everyone's kind of on the same page about how they make those judgments with those words, you know?
Yeah, I think about when you're saying that, it's the manipulative or bad association type questions. They're kind of like, do you really want to risk your relationship with Jehovah over
Yeah.
this friendship from someone in the world?
Yep. Yeah.
Do you feel like being friends with this person helps you draw closer to Jehovah? Or do you think it's pulling you away from Jehovah and his
Oh, God,
organization?
you're so good at this, dude. You're so good at this.
That's
That just
that's the culty type shit where it they ask you these questions in these articles and the talks, and they're very loaded,
loaded questions.
and it gets you to think like, "Oh, well, I feel like Timmy's, like, really nice, but I don't wanna die in Armageddon. I don't wanna lose my relationship with Jehovah,
Exactly.
and so I guess I have to stop talking with him."
As a teenager or a 7-year-old, you're having those thoughts. I don't wanna hurt my relationship with Jehovah. When I try to talk to people like that, when I have tried in the past, when I argue like that with people asking those loaded questions, I get accused of manipulation because it's true,
Yep.
you know? And like those are big questions. Like you really have to those are like fighting questions,
Yeah.
you know? I don't know.
Yeah, it's subtle ways, and it's hard to tell people that are listening on a podcast in a succinct way of just how coercion happens
Yeah.
and just how these little things happen. But it's these culty words, it's this jargon, bad association. That person might. Well, that's the other one we talked about briefly, but spiritually weak.
Yeah.
So that's someone who's technically in the congregation. They are a Jehovah's Witness, but they're not really doing the most they could do. They're not getting tons of hours in the ministry. They're not being an example. Gork talked about it a lot. They don't have that zeal.
Yep.
And so those people, you kind of go like, oh, well, I'm not really going to talk with them because they're spiritually weak. So they could be bad.
Okay, or guys like me and you would say, "Hey, maybe we should have a barbecue and invite so and so because they're spiritually weak and show them how we live."
Yeah.
And that it's okay to be a witness and we value you as a human and maybe with the intent to help those people, get them to a meeting once more a month, you know? I mean, I know I did that
Yeah.
and it was out of goodness.
Yeah. I think it's hard either way. Like you're gonna be
Yeah.
surrounded by these weird types of words and different things. And then, I think as we kind of move along into some other ones, there's kind of these judgment surveillance words, words that maybe like policed our behavior, maybe triggered shame. The first one is stumbled.
It's a big thing to stumble somebody.
Can you explain that concept?
You stumbled me whenever we had our little spat about my beard.
This is going to be an ongoing thing in every podcast. It always comes back up.
It's just a
Uh,
point of
I
reference.
I felt so stumbled by your beard.
Exactly. Yeah. And, like, that was such an interesting interaction because truly, like, if a witness tells you that you're stumbling somebody, you're as good as disfellowshipped if you don't change your shit right now, you know? And I'm exaggerating, but, like, it's a big deal to stumble someone.
Yeah, it's a loaded meaning. It doesn't mean someone tripped or got confused. It means
You shook someone.
someone's faith or loyalty to Jehovah was shaken, usually because someone else's actions or words. So you don't want to be the person that's causing someone to stumble, to kind of lose course to the paradise on earth after Armageddon. You want to be someone completely the opposite. And obviously you don't ever want to be stumbled. So you don't want to surround yourself by bad association or spiritually weak people.
What I find interesting is you can also claim that someone else has stumbled you
Yeah.
and then get some shit done about it.
That's a big word. Stumbled is a big
It
word.
is.
Then we have marked and reproof.
Those
Marked.
ones get shit on a lot, but I don't think that they're that used that often. Like I've heard of 1 or 2 markings and maybe 3 in my life, maybe 5 or 6.
Someone being marked, I'm not sure how much it's done anymore, but there used to be marking talks
Yeah, they would do
where,
everything but name the person.
yeah, someone in the congregation did something wrong. And the elders said, well, we want to make an example out of this person. We know that most people probably know who this person is. They've probably been reproved, which is another word. They've been announced on the platform, like Natty talked about in her conversation with us. And they're not technically disfellowshipped or disassociated, or I guess another word for disfellowship could be excommunicated. They are just they are marked on the platform and reproved for something bad that they did, and we're gonna make an example out of you. And so everyone kind of talks about it after that 30-minute talk's over or whatever. And it's a horrible feeling.
I've been there. I've been there maybe once I got a talk like that done about me.
Now, what is
But yeah,
what is the this is something I never associated with you ever, but the term spiritually mature.
stupid. I mean, that was actually a really kind, good word when used right, but like it was also a striving that was never ending. But elders would be called spiritually mature, maybe even just old pioneers or
Male or female.
certainly elders, and usually, but it was usually like so and so is very spiritually mature. You should go have a chat with them if you have questions or something like that. Or if you're reaching out, go see if you can help this person.
Reaching out is someone trying to qualify for another leadership role or kind of moving along.
Trying to work this. Yeah, that's like the way that they talk about the official system.
Yeah, you want to move up the ladder. You want to reach out for
Yep.
more responsibilities. And the funny thing is different responsibilities in the congregation, for men are, oh, I can do the microphones, I can do the sound box, I go out and kind of help with parking. The ladies, is usually like go
Yeah,
clean.
clean letter
You
writing,
can,
service.
letter writing,
Yeah.
and obviously, yeah, spiritually mature, helping with service. But I think there's also some cringe. There's some funny words. We talked about new light already. Running ahead of Jehovah. This one I heard a lot. Jehovah's chariot. It always moves slowly. It's moving forward.
Yeah.
And then of course the big one. Wait on Jehovah.
Yeah.
It's like we want the new system to come now. You just have to wait on Jehovah. It's probably the God works in mysterious ways
Yep.
uh, kind of version.
Yeah, totally.
We never know.
Dude, you didn't have Friends on here. The Friends.
Oh, well, we talked about the Friends.
Well,
That's
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 true.
that's one that comes up a lot. We're gonna have a get together with the Friends,
Yeah. I wanna have a get together, dude.
dude. I think that's some of the stuff you miss. You don't have the get-togethers. You don't have the big
I
barbecues. You
know.
don't have the big,
People just aren't used to it
yeah.
anymore.
But when you see these words, what like we talk about them being cult speak, and we talk about being this jargon. But like, did you ever feel like that growing up?
Yeah, but the thing is, you say cult speak. I look at it through an agnostic lens. Like, I'm truly agnostic these days in a lot of ways.
Hmm.
And I see them as natural turns of phrase that happen when you organize people socially. It's lingo, it's jargon to me. And the thing is, it is always used to control socially. I'm kind of seeing things from a different perspective lately. And like, I think that it's hard to ascribe intention to a big group of people, and there's some organizers here, especially in the 1900s, that did a lot, but to some extent it's just people existing within a system. And that's how I used it too. Like, that was the system I was raised in. I want to hang out with the friends, I want to go to get-togethers, I want to go in the
Yeah,
ministry.
I think it creates a bubble. I think it creates a mindset of like we have the truth, which is another one.
The truth, yes. Oh god, that one still haunts me.
And even Natty said it when she was talking, and she said it, and she's been out since she was 15. And but I
I
think
left the
I
truth.
left the truth,
Yeah.
and the truth set her free. uh, the I don't think there's a conscious way. It's just like as you're kind of creating this organization year by year, month by month, whatever, you just start to create little terms to help kind of organize the situation. But
Yeah.
I think the more and more you do go along and you get away from it, you do realize how culty, at least in my opinion, that they sound. I know one that happened when I was still in. We used to call the organization the society.
Yeah.
And I don't know when, but they made a conscious effort like, oh, we're not calling it the society anymore.
It was cool when we did.
But I remember thinking like, why? But I think that must have been one of those things where the leadership internally knew this kind of sounds culty.
Yeah.
We got to stop saying the society because that sounds like some
Not
weird,
like a bad look. Yeah. Yeah.
weird organization. But I don't know. I'm sure over time more stuff will come out. Like I said, we wanted to do just a quick check in, a quick conversation about some of these things. I also want to do a call out. If anyone wants to email us, please do so. If they have any questions, any thoughts, want to be a part of the conversation, please email us at cult.ture.pod@gmail.com. You can also reach us on our Instagram. All of that stuff's in the show notes.
Yeah, I want to say real quick, probably connect with us on Instagram. Connect with Culture Pod on Instagram. That's a really good way for us to kind of see what's up in your world too.
Yeah.
And you know what's up in ours, but it's just a nice social proof. So I guess, feel free to do that. But then also email's good too. We like email.
Yeah, and anyone that's currently following us on Instagram, we thank you. And thank you for sharing out the podcast as it's in its early days. So we're still finding our path with this. But if anyone's currently following us, feel free to send a message if you want to be part of the conversation. We'll be happy to take that message, even if it's offline and you don't necessarily want to be on the podcast. But we would love to have everyone be part of the conversation on the podcast.
And also, if you are worried about anonymity, make an email address, like brand new, like Gmail will let you do it. Just fudge the name or whatever. Email us at CulturePod. Tell us you wish to remain anonymous, and we have a whole system set up. So don't worry about your anonymity. We can keep that safe, even from us. We never have to know your name.
Yeah, and if you have any JW lingo, phrases, jargon that you want to make sure is added to the list, please do so as well with that Instagram comment or sending us a message.
This is just how social discussion works today, y'all. I'm not actually promoting. It's just literally for ease of information transfer from the general public to us.
I do want to tease the next episode. The next episode is going to be a good conversation with my sister, Jennifer.
Yennefer.
As we start to get along with these episodes, Trent has mentioned this before, these conversations are going to be heavy. So we'll have to do our best to kind of call these things out and, make sure people are prepared that, at times there'll be fun and laughter on the conversation on the podcast, but there will be times where there'll be some kind of tough messaging and tough conversations that are happening. And I feel like the one with my sister coming up will maybe be a blend of both of those.
And this is a good point to just make a general trigger warning for the future. We're making it now. Trigger warning, every single trigger warning, maybe, just in case.
All of them. It's all the
All
warnings.
the above.
So,
And then, hey, real quick,
but one more thing.
dude, people have been asking, about me and you, trying to get to know us, and I can genuinely say, you just hung out with me and Derek. This is what it's like when we hang out, and then we have personal interests. I'm into computers and stuff and music. He's into music.
Mm-hmm.
So there's all these things that'll come out when we have the time and space to get to know ourselves and share more. But this, you just hung out with, I feel like I just hung out with Derek. We weren't even doing a podcast.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, people do reach out. People do provide feedback, which I think is great. This is ever evolving. It's very fluid, but you're going to get to know who Trent and I after each conversation. It'll keep coming out, and then we'll keep doing these interstitial podcasts where we check in and kind of talk and do this stuff. So we wanted to make it short and brief. We really appreciate all the listeners for coming along for this journey and being part of the conversation. And please do look forward to the next conversation very soon. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us on this journey in this era. If you found today's episode valuable, please share it with someone who might need it. Check the podcast description for our socials and other information.
Please consider supporting us at Patreon at patreon.com/culturepod. If you'd like to tell your story, please contact us at cult.ture.pod@gmail.com. Until next time, stay curious, stay critical, and stay free.